Hi boys and girls, it's me Butch. My name is Terry David Silvercloud. I'm not native, just sounds that way. I'm 78 years old, and what else I need to tell you? That's probably good enough. Today is July the 5th, 2023, Wednesday, down here at English Bay. And tonight, the video I want to make is addressed primarily to gay Mormon and gay Jehovah's younger people who have come out or are trying to come out and are working on it. The other day I made a video about coming out, and I was very brief about, I just sort of suggested when you're 18 moving to another city and just cutting contact. So this video could be for anybody who's coming out, but it's particularly directed at Mormon boys and girls, particularly the boys. Girls in the Mormon religion, they don't pay as much attention to them. And Jehovah's Witness, the same, boys or girls. If you're trying to come out, this is sort of advice from Butchie Poo. Now, I'm 78 years old, and when I came out I was 22 back in 1966-67, and in those days it was against the law in Vancouver, or not in Vancouver, in Canada, for a man to have sex with a man or a woman to have sex with a woman. It was completely against the law, and I was an officer in the Navy, so I learned a few lessons about living within a type of society or a system at that time anyway, where I had to be extraordinarily secretive about the fact that I was gay. And I like guys, not all guys, certain guys. If you got the right stuff, you might be into it. So one of the first things I did when I was coming out, right away, one of my very first experiences, I realized I didn't dare tell anyone I was in the Navy, an officer no less, in submarines. So when I was asked my name, the first name that popped in my head was that of a beautiful male prostitute I'd met and talked to at Piccadilly Circus. He talked to me because he'd seen me driving around in my MGB, and I certainly noticed him, but he let me know that he was trade, and I learned that trade was, he was gay for pay. He probably was gay, but he was beautiful. But his name was David, so the first name that popped into my head was David. So that's how I became a David. And in my later life, my family and everybody, when I left the Navy, I was a David to everybody, including any straight people I knew, even my family. And I legally changed my name in 1998 from what it was originally to what it is now. My legal name right now is Terry David Silvercloud. So when I was younger, I was a Terry, and I was a David, and in a lot of my hippie days, which is another long story of mine, I was Silvercloud or Cloudy. So we won't get into that. So one of the first things you might think about doing if you're planning your escape, you want to come out, you don't know how to deal with the Mormon cult or the Jehovah's cult around you. Now if you hang in here at the end, I'm going to give you some really strong help. I'm going to save it for the end to see if I can keep you hanging in here. So changing your name. So one of the things you need to know is that virtually all states and countries now, the legal age of everything is 18 everywhere, pretty much. Age of sexual consent will vary from 13 or 14 to 16, some places right up to 18. But once you reach 18, everywhere, you are legally an adult, and you are responsible for obeying the laws and all of that. All the responsibilities that come with being an adult, including you don't have to give a crap what your parents tell you anymore. So if you're younger, you should be planning for being 18. You should cultivate some friends. This may be hard to do because of the cult-like nature of your religion. friends who are not Mormon, friends who are not Jehovah's Witness, so that when the crunch time comes, you can test the waters by coming out to them and getting their reaction, and do that before you come out to anybody else, especially your family. So you've tested the waters with some friends, and then you'll also know to whom you might be able to go for some help. You might also, if you're quite young, check out if there's any LGBTQ youth groups in your area who could help you out. If you're under 18 and you want to get away from home, you probably could do that, but then you could end up in a foster home. So you might want to try and hang in there until you're 18. But if you went to any child and youth services in your city and said, I'm gay and I'm frightened of being at home, can you help me find a place to live? They may be inclined to help you. They probably will. They'll do something. I'm pretty sure they'll help you. They're not going to turn you away. I'd be certainly very surprised if they did. So what was the first thing? Have a name. Have your new name. Your new, brand new you. And for me it was David. So I've been a David like for years and years. And I've been Butch for nearly 20 years now. And that's a long story how I became Butch. It's just a nickname, but I'm not going to waste your time telling you how so now anybody who knows me, they know me as Butch. Just checking to make sure my stuff is still over there on the bench. It is, I think. Good. So, where were we? Change your name. Cultivate some friends who are outside of your religion. And also, you may have a favorite aunt or uncle or grandfather, grandpa, grandma, granny, auntie, in whom you think you could safely confide. I think somebody's going to come over here to say goodbye to me while I'm on camera. You do realize I'm making a video about coming out. I'm talking to the camera right over there, see?
I noticed
so
that.
I'm going to have to cut you short because I got to keep going. Are you going? Are you leaving? Okay.
I just want to know what you're doing.
I'm making a video.
Okay.
There you go. I was chatting to her earlier. She probably doesn't realize that the tiny little thing, my camera's a little zoom Q2N. She wouldn't realize it's even a camera. Now I lost my train of thought. So you develop some friends and also an auntie or uncle. Try coming out to them and test the waters with them. And probably for both of your religions, Jehovah's Witness or Mormon, the suggestion I made I didn't mean to be blunt, whatever the right word is. I was trying to be correct or something, kind, sharing. Moving to another city is really a good option. You can maybe try and when you're 18, try and get a job online or save up some money so you can survive a month or so. And maybe pick a smaller town or city at first where it might be not so expensive, or a big city. You'll survive, you can do it, but definitely have a little nest egg build up, or a credit card. I don't recommend credit cards, that's a horrible thing to use, but if you're desperate, very last resort, getting in debt, and I'm in debt so I can tell you firsthand, don't get in debt, sucks. But go to another city. Now here's the kicker, because the sun is going to go down here, and I didn't want this video to go on and on forever, and especially if the lady came up and lost track of where I was. Your belief in God, what I can share with you is when I was growing up, my biggest issue with coming out was my relationship with God. And I came from a very religious family. It wasn't Mormon, but it was pretty religious. And I thought that beating my meat was going to send me to hell. And every single night, of course, I was beating it and then praying to God to forgive me, and I'd never do it again. Of course, the next night I beat it again and again and again. And I've pretty much done it every single day for the last 60 years. So what you need to know is there's nothing wrong with beating your meat, and it's actually scientifically now proven to add health benefits to your prostate. Clean out the old stuff, put in the new, and if you don't do it, you'll probably have a wet dream and your body will do it for you. But you need not feel any guilt about beating your meat. My nose is clogged up from my painkillers. Hang on a second, just gotta see if I can breathe in deeply here. Hold on. That didn't work. Oh, that sucks. It's one of the side effects. My nasal passage shrinks. So I was terrified I was going to go to hell. Terrified. And after who knows how many times I prayed to be forgiven, I think I just finally started giving up on God. And now you can know that I'm an atheist in my old age. And my definition of God is the sum of all reality. God is Mother Nature. God is not a person. God just is everything. All of us are part of what is God, which is just a metaphor for all of reality. It has always existed, and it's always going to exist, one way or another. Now, to help you break, I know how really, really hard that relationship you have with God is to warble. So, even though Butchie Poo believes that God is just for the superstitious and the uneducated, you just don't know enough to realize that it's sort of silly, the idea of God. I don't have time to argue that. But if you really need to have a God, there are other religions, and you can still have your God, and the kind of God you want, and the God I adopted when I was 14 or 15 is a loving God. God doesn't give a crap how many times I beat my meat. In the Garden of Eden, it wasn't God that dumped on Adam and Eve for being naked. In fact, God said, "Who told you you were naked?" It was Moses that sort of came down with his laws that sort of said, you can't sleep with another guy, it's despicable. That kind of stuff, that's from Moses, it's not from God. And anyhow, your God, adopt a kind and caring God if you must have one, and a loving God. And love is unconditional. It has no conditions, zero. That's what love is. So here's the way I'm going to really kick it off for you, and then I'm going to shut up because I know I've really gone on for a long time. And do I have a red light? Let me see. I got to go up to the camera here. Go peekaboo. And yes, we're still on. Still have a red light. I'm going to prove to you, Mormon boys and girls, that the Book of Mormon is fake. And it's really easy to do. Because in second book of Nephi 2, chapter 24, if you read that, it reads word for word. Exactly the same wording as Isaiah 14:12 in the King James version of the Bible. It's exactly the same wording, word for word. Now the King James version was written in 1605, and it was translated from the Latin Vulgate, and the word Lucifer got in Isaiah 14:12 when Jerome, back in 385, translated the Bible into Latin. So if you look at the Latin Vulgate, you will see the word Lucifer. And I think what happened is Jerome got poetic, and it may have been at that time in Rome or those areas that the word Lucifer might have been a name for Venus, the morning star. Because certainly that's what the reference is the morning star, Venus. And everybody, all of the other churches of the world, except the Mormons and the Latin version, agree that it was a horrible, horrible mistake. And now, if you read any modern Bible, there is no Lucifer in Isaiah 14:12. Now, this is a problem for Mormons because the Book of Mormon was supposedly written 5 or 6 or 7 or 800 years back around the time of Jesus, and King James Bible was written in the year 1605, 1605. So somehow, when the King James people translated the Latin into Old English, they used exactly the same words as in the Book of Mormon, which was written 1,000 years before the King James Bible. What I'm trying to throw doubt in here is that your religion has some really creaky foundations, and you should stop worrying so much about the God of Mormon or the God of Jehovah's Witness, and worry about your own personal God if you must have one, and make your God a kind and caring God who accepts everything. And if God is the sum of everything, God must, by God's very nature, experience every pain, every sorrow, every joy. God is everything, so God gets to experience every orgasm, and God's having a good time, but God also gets to experience all the horrors of war, and that's the way it is. So God is not a person, God is just a metaphor. But the God you have is within you, and you set the rules, and you know what's right and wrong. You do, don't you? And if you don't, maybe your mama didn't teach you, but basically if you really look around you and think about things, I think you really know the difference between right and wrong. And if you're a kind and caring, empathetic, that's a person who cares about other people and things, person, you'll do the right things. So the sun is, I think we've got another 15 minutes of light, but the sun is definitely fading here at English Bay in Vancouver. I hope this has been of some kind of help. Sorry about the nasal voice. Nothing I can do about it. I can't clear my nose. Ram a pipe up there. There's no snot in there. There's nothing. Just the muscles of C shut. So I'm wearing some designer type bikini I bought like